Welcome to this episode of Worldly Wise, the Federal's program that deconstructs international events and which we present every Thursday. Uh, how secure is democracy in a constitutionally guaranteed democratic country? Ideally, there should be no issues as citizens get to enjoy extensive freedoms ranging from personal liberty to political choices. At least, this is the general notion. But three recent instances have challenged this notion. The first and the latest is South Korea. Who would have ever thought that the country could come under martial law? Just like that, at the whim of a president. South Korea, since 1987, has had a continuous bout of democratic rule. The preceding 30 years, from the time of the Korean War in 1950, was a tumultuous time. A nation that was partitioned from North Korea was still finding its feet. It was largely under a military authoritarian rule. However, since 1987, the country has settled down to democracy. Today, South Korea is right on top as far as technology is concerned. It is a major industrial hub and is democratic and politically free with a vibrant society. But President Yoon had other ideas. He wanted to continue being in power despite losing popularity. His party, the National People's Power, had lost majority in the assembly and he was set to lose in the presidential elections, which is expected soon. So he took recourse to the usual excuse in a politician's handbook: external threat. In this case, from communists in North Korea. It was, of course, a ruse, a lame excuse. Like all people in power, Yoon thought people would buy his story. Thankfully, they didn't. He will be impeached shortly or will have to resign. The second instance of an attempt to subvert democracy is even more unbelievable. That is because it happened in the United States, which prides itself on its democracy and even invades other countries claiming to impose democratic systems there, say Iraq in 2003. A nation that has gone through severe political convulsions and has in the past been in danger of a breakup would have never imagined that its very own elected president would try overthrowing the electoral process. We are talking of the United States in the electoral process. Popular and fairly held elections being integral to any democracy, no one expected losing President Donald Trump to instigate his supporters to mount an attack on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. Situated in Washington, D.C., the judiciary and the legislature on Capitol Hill are key symbols of US's democracy. Trump dared challenge the democratic process for simply losing to Joe Biden in the 2020 election for presidency. In fact, Trump put pressure on Vice President Mike Pence at the time not to certify the results of the election so Trump could continue in office, or so he thought. Pence, however, dismissed Trump's request and enabled the takeover of power legitimately by Joe Biden. Paradoxically, this time around, the very same electoral process that Trump spat upon has brought him back to power in elections held in November this year. Trump's shenanigans in 2020 show that democracy was on the verge of being subverted and hijacked into uncharted waters of some kind of an authoritarian rule. The incident wiped out the smugness of Americans who never imagined they would be robbed of their freedoms. One immediate consequence of what many call was an attempted insurrection is the polarization of US society of a kind not seen in recent memory. In fact, it will take long for the US to get over Trump supporters' attack on Capitol Hill. The third and of immediate consequence to India is Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina, the daughter of Bangladesh's icon Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and leader of the Awami League, goofed up big time during her period in office by diluting democratic processes and institutions. Hasina's policies may have been socially secular, helped the economy to prosper, and ensured political stability. But at what cost? Hasina's biggest mistake was to dilute democratic institutions and emerge as an authoritarian leader. Elections were held but were boycotted by the main opposition, so they lacked legitimacy. Eventually, when the uprising against her occurred in August this year, there was none, including her supporters from the Awami League, to protect her. A beleaguered Hasina had to literally flee from the nation. Since her exit, Bangladesh is in ferment. An ad hoc government headed by Mohammad Yunus is in place. There is a power vacuum caused by Hasina's departure. Those sections, including the right wing Jamaat and other religious fundamentalists who she tried to marginalize, have returned to the center of power. Bangladesh, of course, is still a work in progress. The route the country is taking gives no confidence that real democracy will be restored anytime soon. The only silver lining in all these countries, that is South Korea, the United States, and Bangladesh, is all is not yet lost. Democracy may still prevail. A clause in the South Korean constitution that mandates approval by the National Assembly saved democracy in that country. A majority of the MPs rejected the authoritarian move by President Yoon, and martial law had to be lifted a few hours after it was announced. In the case of the US, though the then Vice President Mike Pence was Trump's running mate, he did not agree to Trump's plea and took a decision in the interest of US democracy. And he said so in as many words. In Bangladesh, the forces that ousted Sheikh Hasina from power have not yet been able to consolidate power. Elections are expected shortly, and there appears to be a silent section that is not supporting the interim government wholeheartedly. So, democracy still stands a chance, or so we would like to believe.